Hey everyone, welcome back, and today we're going to be doing this lovely illustration. So before we begin, I am Becca. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, and as you guys can see, I have started this illustration with my little sketch underneath because I normally like to start an illustration with a pre-drawn sketch. I haven't been sketching a lot on my computer. I have preferred to be sketching actually like on my sketchbook. I have been sketching pretty much on my sketchbook and I'm pretty excited about that. And one thing that I have also been loving doing is that I have been changing pretty much a lot of the design choices for my illustration. And here, as you guys can see, I'm just kind of layering out, fixing some little mistakes that I did while I was sketching. There was still a little mistake that I did do that I could have fixed, but I think when I sat down to do this illustration, I was pretty much just vibing and having a little bit more of a fun time, just enjoying the process. In my head, I was going to turn her into a vampire. If you guys are new, I love vampires. So the minute I get a chance to draw a vampire, I am going to go all in. But I did decide not to do that on this one. Why? Because I thought she looked so pretty and so ethereal, kind of in a way. And I loved how she was going and like her vibe of just being calm. Even though I did kind of name this illustration something a little bit less, but you guys will find that out like way later when I finally have a shop update. But if you guys don't know, I am a small business owner, and if you guys would like, I have illustrations and stickers and bookmarkers and a whole bunch of other things in my store. The link is down below. But going back into this illustration, I'm kind of like getting into drawing braids again. I haven't drawn braids in a really long time, and I'm kind of trying to remember how I used to do it. So because I have an older video here on my channel where I used to do illustrations a little bit more like differently. They did not consist of the line art. I just used the line art as a guide to where my illustration would be, and it was just literally almost like I was painting, but I decided to go back into illustrations with actual line art just to have a little bit more fun. And so I didn't really need to go crazy, and it was actually less time consuming than the way that I used to do it. Did I love learning how to shade and the values? Yes, but did I learn a little bit more of that? Well, when I started doing like realistic illustrations, I will put some up for you so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Also, yes, I did learn more about how to color in and literally blend colors with colored pencils. So my art ended up changing a little bit because I was literally trying new styles, and I eventually just got into where I am right now. I am kind of going back into practicing a little bit, especially for noses. I have discovered that for some reason I forgot how to draw a Caucasian nose. I don't know why. I am perfect in drawing like a black or an Asian person, but when it comes to Caucasians, I have been struggling a little bit, except when it's like side views. I actually love drawing side views for my characters, but when it comes to like literally like the front view, like the portfolio, like literally front view, I was having a little bit of trouble. So I am kind of going to step a little bit back a little and probably do a little bit more drawing and illustrations. If you guys would like to see me practicing a little bit with colored pencils or maybe digitally, give me a little comment and I'll see if that would be a useful video for here as well, so we could practice together. But going on, now that I finished a little bit of the editing, I'm actually going into the line art right now. I had a little fun drawing this because I was really into like doing the braids. As I said, I'm still trying to remember how I used to do the braids because I just went into it and I was like, I want to draw someone with braids. That was literally the idea. I just want to draw someone with braids, and I got into literally drawing her with the braids. At first I was like, oh no, it looks weird. Oh no. And I was like, oh, you know what? It's my style. It's a heart-shaped braid. That's what I'm going to go with. And I was just happy that it turned out pretty, and I gave her a couple of beauty marks because I wanted to make this illustration pop a little because I like adding different and fun iterations to my sketches. So if I have a sketch of a full character that I just did for fun, or I was practicing, or I wanted to do poses, or I had an idea in my head, sometimes I'll just draw the pose, and then when I go into Photoshop, I will start literally just having a little bit more fun and actually create the entire illustration that I want in Photoshop just with the pose that I did like at a sketch practice, or I just had the idea and I really wanted to draw something like that. So this is mostly something that I ended up doing. I do try my best to keep the essence that I had in the idea of the illustration. But as I said, I did change up this illustration. I was going to turn her into a vampire, but I decided not to. And I was actually pretty happy with that. I do have other black vampires. If you guys also don't know, I am currently writing multiple books at the same time, but the two books that I am working on, one is a vampire story and the other one is just like gonna be my debut novel, which I am currently editing draft 3. Hopefully it's the last draft that I'm going to edit before I send it off to an editor and have a little bit more fun, and then I'm gonna get in and actually do covers and everything. I will be showing a little bit of the covers and everything here on YouTube, so both here and also on my other channel when we get there. But now when it comes to the colors, I wanted to give her pink braids. I thought it would be fun. What I've noticed when I do just portrait drawings, I don't normally put or choose a background immediately because the background for me is, especially if it's just going to be like a plain color and a couple of details, like maybe a bit of sparkles here and there, I do tend to just think of the lighting that I normally like using, or I'll get a reference for lighting and just like do something different with it. Since I was coloring like a black person and I wanted to make the skin a little bit more alive, to look more alive, I did give her a little bit more of an ashier, reddy, purplish brown, mostly because if you haven't seen a lot of it's really actually true. Most black people, they do, when you see like shadows, it's mostly like these really pretty purpley vibes on them, on their skin, and it's mostly just because of the blood and the way the light hits the skin, and like you could see it on certain parts, and I really just think it's so pretty. And when I get to literally draw and color in and just go crazy, this is technically how I like to do it. I like to just go in with a different color and just play around with the pressure of the pen. I'll start with a really dark color and then just like gradually building up until I know if it's going to be darker or lighter, or if I'm a bit unsure if I'm going to make it really darker, I will leave to making it actually darker when I do a shadow pass, And I really loved this illustration. I loved her expression. I loved the way I put the lighting, especially on her nose. It looked so alive and vibrant. So I was actually pretty happy with the way it turned out, even though I did have a little problem that I realized way after when everything was done and completed, which was the little part of her back. But I didn't really go into a spiral because I just looked at this illustration and I was like, this is pretty. This is what I wanted to do. This is how I wanted this illustration to look. Now I am literally just going in with the hair with the new technique that I am doing with hair, like not going into 100%, doing like every inch of strand hair, like every strand of hair that I could. No, I decided not to do that anymore. I would normally just go in and make bigger lines where I wanted, and if I wanted to make it darker, I'll just take in a darker color, maybe a variant of the color that I'm using, or the actual like line art color that I chose, like because I use the multiply layer on the line art. So when I add the colors at the bottom, like it gives out a darker or and vibrant color. So I would probably either use that, or I'll just get the variant of the color that I'm using it and I'll just make it a little bit darker. And I will use that. And afterwards, when I blend it in, I am not a fan of using the smudge tool. I'm not gonna lie, to blend in the colors. And I personally don't like using the smudge tool. I actually like using the mixer brush to do that. I know a lot of people, a lot of artists like using the smudge tool, but to be honest, for me, they both look the same. And they both have the same result, and I just like using the mixer tool better to actually do it. The only thing I change on the mixer brush is I literally just take out the color that it's gonna mix with, because I actually don't like the way it adds in more color. So just the fact that there's nothing there, it's just going to use the color that's literally on that layer, and it will just blend it in, and it just looks so good. And that is actually the brush I also used to do when I used to do a little bit more. I would say it's a bit more complicated because I didn't use line art back then for the illustrations and stuff. But that's technically what I used to do as well. But in the end, this illustration was really beautiful. It didn't take a long time to actually get done, and I actually had to slow it down a little because I really enjoy just sitting back now and doing portraits. One other thing that I did, I also made sure to put in more darker values in the parts that should have darker values, and a little bit more of reimagining how the light would be, how it would touch part of her skin here, how it would touch part of her skin a little bit over there. And one thing that I also loved about this illustration was how I did the background later on. I just made a little blue color to it just to make her a little bit more vibrant, just like pop her out a little bit. And I added a little bit of texture to the brush. I have a little texture brush that I created, and it just gives it a little bit more of like a cloudy effect in the background with a little bit more texture. And that's technically how I ended this drawing, and I'm really happy with the result. Here you guys can see me just doing and just adding in a little bit more value, adding in the darker parts of it, just adding that second pass of shadow, which brings out even more the color, especially because even if you are in a darker environment, your skin will still pick up on a light source, even if it's very faint. And I love how you get to play around with that when it comes to art, and It's really fun, and I really love just like coloring in and making things a little bit more fun and more vibrant, because I do have a saturation thing. I really do. And this is my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will catch you guys for more videos next week. Have a great day, guys. See you guys next week for another video. Bye.